What is up, gang? It is I, Carlton Flowers, your crypto pro.
Yay!
And tonight, we need to take a quick look at the Bitcoin chart on the 4-hour and the 1-day and catch up from where we were at the last point since all of this crazy sidebanding action that has been going on since June, approximately June the 22nd, after the bottom of the dip from the big capitulation. So since then, we made it back above the red dashed line. Very important. We came back down almost to test it, bounced up again, failed it here, jumped back up, kind of hid below the red line, jumped back up it again. So you can call all of the action that we have had in this side banding ever since we made it back above the line. You can call this support. Keep that in mind. So this is the 4-hour chart, and we have seen support along that line. Now, the things that concern me, if you're wondering where could we possibly go from here, and that's all we're going to talk about on this video, we need to look at the feedback that we're getting from the stochastic and then also the MACD. Now, as we see on this chart, we had a couple of huge stochastic peaks that happened right here after the big capitulation, and then you had this bouncing around up here where we made it to the overbought zone, and then we have the double hump camel right here, if you could call it that. Actually, these are two separate humps. And then we look upstairs to see what the return was. In other words, when we have this peak here, we were stuck at about this price somewhere above 30,000 at this big volume node on the VPVR here, which tells you the areas where there's a lot of trading volume going on. So a ton of trading was happening at 30,000, not so much interest between 30,000 and the point of control price, which is sitting where we are right now at approximately 20,600 and change. So once we had the big capitulation, we tried to have this little rebound. We didn't get much return up here on the price, just a slight bump up, and then we went back down to form this bottom here that coincides with the bottom of this stochastic cycle. Now, when we came all the way back up here into the overbought zone, all we got out of this complete cycle was this price that took us to this node that is sitting at approximately 21,700, somewhere around there. That's all we got. So then we went down and we have the bottom of the next stochastic cycle, but it returned a higher low. This is where we kind of saw support at the red dashed line. But then we notice that the next time that we came up into this next box with 1, 2, 3 little peaks poking its head barely above the 80 line into the overbought zone, we see that we only returned a price right here that was right back in that same zone at around 20,750. All right. And then we sail all the way back down to the bottom of the stochastic cycle. And this is where we briefly failed the red dash line. And then nothing but side banding. And now we've had two big peaks. On the first peak here, we didn't get much return for our investment on this stochastic cycle peak, as the price just kind of hung out at the point of control, which is the highest volume trading at a particular price. So then we were coming down. I thought we were going to sail all the way down here, but then we rebounded and reversed. We had a fake out, reverse, came back up to this next peak, and that got us touching the 200 EMA line, which is very important because we got resistance. There's a wick that tapped the 200 exponential moving average, this blue line right here, and we went back down. Now, as we're floating down now, we're right back to the POC price of 20,600 and change. However, it looks like the stochastic has done a complete cycle and there's a bottom. Now, that does not mean that we're going to ride all the way back up to the overbought zone. And if we do, we have to look, what will be the price? Will it just push it back up here to this node around here? Or will it fly us all the way back up to 30,000? Will it take us above the purple dash line? Will it get us to the black dash line? Those are the questions that we'll have when we see that stochastic cycle complete. However, there is a possibility the stochastic cycle can do this: fake out, reverse, and return to the oversold zone. Just like we thought we were going to dip here, and what did we do? We went back to the overbought zone. So there's no guarantee that this is the completion of the stochastic cycle. And the reason why I can tell you that is by looking at the MACD. What do we see here? We had a peak and a crossover right there at the stochastic peak up above. The MACD oscillators crossed over. These are slower than the stochastic, much slower. And now we're printing red bars in the histogram under this zero line right here, okay? And notice how long it took for this cycle to complete, where we had the oscillators on the MACD travel from the bottom point all the way to the top here. And that takes us all the way back to like the 14th of June, okay? Now, if this is a full cycle, let's make that a different color. Let's make it green. Let's say this is the green cycle of the MACD. And let's say that from this point down to here was the red cycle. Is this the completion of the green cycle? Or will we see the MACD come up again for air here and do another hump? I don't know. Right now, it kind of looks like to me that we're about to enter a down cycle on the MACD. If that is the case, it will probably rob us of any life-changing higher highs here on the price line up here, that if our stochastic goes all the way back up to the top, we might not get much of a price movement up here. And the reason we have to assume that is because we are in a bear market. Okay, so that's kind of what the 4-hour chart is telling me. And the closest price that I could say that is a possible target is right here at this volume node. And that node just happens to be right at the red dashed line. So if we make it to this red dashed line at 19,274, then the question is, will it be support and we bounce off of the red dashed line? Or will it become resistance and we fall through the red dashed line or try to jump back up, hit our head, and then go down? Being that it is a bear market and we have not proven a reversal in trend, we're going to have to look at the possibility of a rejection and maybe a return at least to that red line. But let's look at the one-day chart. Enough of the 4-hour. Let's just bump to the 1 day and see what we can discern here. Now, I did put a new indication on here, and this chart is a little bit uglier than the one we were just looking at with the 4-hour. Okay, let's scrunch this down just a little bit so we can see all of this action here. There we go. And notice how the price has been bouncing around, and some people were calling this like a bull flag or saying that we had a triangle and a breakout. Some people were saying that this was a triangle like this and that we had a positive break to the triangle. Not true, as we can already see right here that price is on the decline. We had a definite crossover on the stochastic, and then the direction of the stochastic cycle is headed straight down. We also have this MACD that is weak, where we had a high point here. We sailed on down, then we had kind of a rebound time period all the way up to this lower high here. And now what do we see? A lower high here and a possibility of crossover about to happen here as the green bars have just turned light right there. So we could get a crossover here, and it's not looking good. And we're hanging on to this volume node that if we look on this chart at this particular visible range, that's at 20,836. If we fall below that, we're going to test the red dashed line. This chart looks absolutely bearish. And then let me show you the way that I interpret the action that we have just seen that some called a flag. If you'll notice, there are two light red lines on my chart. And this is the way I see it. I'm calling this a bear flag. There's the flag. Here's the pole. And of course, when you do the removal of the pole, you get the measured move, and it can tell you what the ultimate target is if you break out of that flag. So when we throw this down here, it takes us to ugly, ugly land. And it could possibly be dumped to 13,500 or lower. And I'll show you why I think that too. But let's just leave that there. Notice that we had a bear flag here, okay, I had falsely interpreted this triangle as a pennant, a bearish pennant. And then we had this movement up. And the way I should have translated this action was as a straight bear flag like this and not a pennant. And so as soon as we got to the bottom of the flag and we broke out, that was the confirmation at this point that that was a bear flag breakout to the downside. And then when we take the pole here and we did the measured move, well, look at that. It takes us kind of right down to where the bottom is of the next little zone of side banding. So when we do that here and we replace that pole down here, it does get us down into that $11,000 to $13,000 range. It's possible. Now, it could always go up. We could always have some crazy action where somebody goes ape and then drives us all the way up to the black dash line at the 30,000 price. It's also possible we could go all the way up to the 200 EMA. I don't see that happening right now. And again, it's because we're in a bear season and the overall trend is pushing downwards. Okay, so when we look at the top of this channel all the way to the bottom of where we sit, this is all downward action. Let's just put an arrow on here. So we were down, side banding, down, side banding, down. This is the classic bull or bear market movement, bear market price progression, where each of these stochastic peaks gives us lower highs. You know, each time you look at this, well, this was a higher high, but then the next one took us down here and we didn't get much for this stochastic peak that happened here, and we didn't get much for this one here. So that's a bearish chart. Now, let's get rid of this one and jump to the 1 week chart just to get a bigger outlook here. Here is the 1 week chart, and this is where you can see things a little bit more from the macro standpoint. Let's see here. We'll zoom it in and get the 2017 peak right here, which was at the 19,500 and change. And there are some people who are saying that the true peak, if you look at the 1 month chart, is not at 19,500, but it's down here somewhere around 13,000 when you look at the 1 month candle. And that's why they're thinking that 13,000 is a critical range. And when you look at this chart, you do see some wicks here that come up in the 13,000 range. We keep on seeing a bounce where we're bumping our head, getting resistance somewhere around 13,000. It happened several times, and then we had to break out and we had the massive bull run that took us to the all-time high of 60 whatever thousand. So looking at this chart and looking at the volume nodes, if we just zoom in a little bit more to make those nodes stick out, then we can get an idea of where some of these possibilities are. All right, so here we sit and we can see that we have this volume node at 19,800. That's the one that I believe if we fail the red dash line at this node, then we jump down to the next one. And it's down here at 11,000. And then we've got one that's at the 13,000. So I would have to say that if we break out of this one like we just did the last one, okay, let's just put some lines on here. We had our last bear flag that looked like this. It was right there. We broke out and we came straight down to the height of that pole. So here's our new bear flag right here. There it is. And so if we break out of this one, then yeah, when you take your measured move, grab the pole and stick it over here somewhere. And where does it take you? Down to that 11 to 13,000 area. And look at the stochastic. It's at a bottom here, but there's nothing saying that this can't unfurl and go even lower. And look at the MACD. Here's the peak. The next one is a lower high, and then we're below water. And now we might have a peak somewhere in here. I mean, there could be a rebound before we hit the absolute capitulation. The only thing is, I don't know when it's going to happen. According to this chart, this could push us out. Who knows? Let's say if we get a complete whole nother cycle. I like that word, whole nother. If this cycled up, okay, and we did something like this, like what we saw before. Let's just say there's another peak. That could have us way out here in like September in August to September. And some people are saying that they think the low is going to happen in August to September. So overall, we could see that happen. And that lets us know that maybe it's not time to expect the big dive to happen that we were looking at on the 4-hour chart. Maybe we're going to be sidebanding for much more time. So let's just end this where we go back to the 4-hour chart. And here's all of our sidebanding right here. Maybe the way that we should interpret this 4-hour chart is something like this, where we're seeing the stochastic. It could come for another cycle. And maybe we test, like I said, the 200 EMA, or we test the purple line before it comes down and tests the red line and maybe hits a rejection and then goes deep down into the abyss. So anyway, I think we got some time to analyze it and think about it. We'll keep our eyes on it and watch it as the summer grinds on. So that is all I got for now, and I would love it if you would like, comment, and subscribe to the Crypto Pro channel. And if you feel motivated that you would like to help to support the cost of me keeping these updates, you may send me a super thanks. Also, let me know if you want me to go live. I haven't done a live stream for a few months, but I'm considering doing a live stream to talk Bitcoin and then to look at all the charts of the top alts. Let me know. It's up to you. Also, shout out to my neighbors who are watching this video, Jai and Raj.
Yay!
What's up, guys? I am so glad to have them on board in the Crypto Pro Club, the best Bitcoin club on planet Earth. And we like to chit chat out in the street and talk about the action with Bitcoin, altcoins, NFTs, all of that good stuff. So anyway, that's all I've got for now. This is Carlton, and I am out.